Hello, good afternoon. If you're just joining us, my name is Esosa and I'm associate at IP Business Capital. This is part of our live series. We've been having them with Nigerian entrepreneurs who are in the renewable energy space or who use sustainable procedures in their business policies as part of their contribution towards following climate change procedures. We know that climate change is rather new area here in Nigeria, but a lot of companies are taking the initiatives. Some few weeks ago, we had someone else who came on to speak, and today we'll be having someone who's in the fashion space, and she'll be telling us about how she uses sustainable solutions in her business in the fashion industry. And she's a Nigerian, and she'll be with us shortly. Once she with us comes on, I would introduce her and would get to meet her and have a conversation with her on how her business runs and how she's able to implement sustainable solutions into her fashion in business. It's interesting to note that the fashion industry worldwide accounts for a lot of the waste, from clothes, and because not everything that is made gets to be worn or produced. And so the fashion industry contributes a lot to waste. And a lot of companies globally have been trying to find ways in which they could reduce this waste from fashion, which is what has brought about a lot of the conversations surrounding recycled fashion, which is basically wearing what you've worn before, or even thrift fashion, which is basically wearing what somebody else has worn, going to purchase it rather than going all the way and starting with fast fashion. So, just a few more minutes, and Cynthia will be with us, and then we will start. For those of us who are just joining us for the first time, this is IP Business Capital. IP Business Capital is a cutting edge IP solutions company that's based here in Lagos. The basically what we basically do is to solve complex issues for companies in modern day Nigeria. We also help them with IP, and we also help them to upscale their businesses using IP. IP here refers to intellectual property, how they can use intellectual property to upscale their business and gain a competitive edge, not just in Nigeria, but globally. We're all aware that intellectual property plays a very, very huge role in businesses. A lot of us know about Coca Cola, a lot of us know about Apple, a lot of us know about Samsung, even Burberry, Chanel, Gucci, and so many other brands. And here in Nigeria, we know Diola Sagoe, we know, a couple of other Nigerian homemade brands. Intellectual property plays a huge role in a lot of these businesses because once you see a Gucci bag, for example, or a shoe or a dress, you know it's a Gucci because you see the brand logo. And so that's basically what IP Business Capital seeks to do, to help companies to upscale, to help companies to, you know, gain a huge advantage in the business market. I see that Cynthia has joined us, so I will just continue with the interview series. Welcome, Cynthia. Welcome, Cynthia. Hello, Cynthia. Can you unmute yourself? Hello.
Okay.
Welcome,
Hi.
Cynthia.
Hi,
Good
Susan.
afternoon. Glad to meet you here.
Same here. And you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Welcome on board.
Thank you.
So everyone, like I said, when I was starting the introduction before Cynthia came on, I said Cynthia is she's a multi-award-winning textile designer. She's grown her startup into a global enterprise that has empowered over 10,000 women in Africa. She's giving them access to the market. She's the founder of Adire Lounge, a sustainable textile company that turns agricultural waste to textiles. Wow. She holds a bachelor's degree in business administration from the University of Benin. In 2016, she was part of the Heineken Lagos Fashion and Design Week campaign, connecting the dots. She's also won numerous awards like the ACE Awards, the Best Indigenous Textile Designer in 2017 and Fashion Finest Indigenous Fabric Maker of the year 2018 and then 2019. As a result of her work, she was recognized on the Y Niger Power List 2018 for fashion and style and Africa's 100th next startup by International Finance Corporation World Bank Group in 2018. She's also a TEF, Tony Elumelu Foundation Fellow, she has a certificate from Lagos Business School in Non-Profit Leadership Management Program 2019. She also has been selected as a milestone shaker by NASDAQ. For those of us who don't know, NASDAQ is the equivalent of, I think, the Nigeria Stock Exchange in the US. She's also part of the BRIC Fellowship by the EU Impact Hub in Spain. Welcome, Cynthia. Welcome again.
Thank you,
Welcome.
sister. Thank you so much for having me.
As we can see, she's done a lot. She's done a lot, but she's more of like a fashion person. But she's done a lot. She's done a lot. Her CV is very, very ripe. She's done a lot. She's won a lot of awards, and that's one of the reasons why we're speaking with her today. Welcome, Cynthia, and please can you just briefly just tell us a little bit about yourself? Something that I
Um,
haven't read. Something I haven't read.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cynthia Asijie, and I am the CEO and co-founder for Adire Lounge. And like Esosa said, what we do is we turn agricultural waste into sustainable textile and fashion products, while also empowering women in underserved communities in Africa. And I've been doing this for like 7 years. And in doing this, we've been able to empower over 10,000 women, especially in over 50% of them from Lagos, Nigeria, and the rest in other parts of East Africa and also West Africa. And one of the reasons why we decided, or I decided to start Adore Lounge was two things. Was one, we needed to most women who live in underserved communities. So underserved communities are like communities whereby they do not earn an income. They're just at home. They have no income. They all depend on one source of income, which might be the husband. So the husband has to take care of the woman. The husband has to take care of the wife and the children and the kids. And we decided to say, okay, we needed to empower these women with textile skills and also employ them. On the other hand, sustainability very is in now, and we have like a lot of agricultural waste, not just in Nigeria, in Africa, globally also. And we now learned that okay, so we could turn this waste into textiles. So two arms were um, empowering women in communities. We're also reducing our waste in the environment and overland field with waste and turning them into sustainable textile, which also helps the textile industry while also empowering these women in these communities so they're able to take care of their kids, afford healthcare, education for their family members, and also take care of themselves and not just being dependent on one source of income. So with that, we were able to also this product export these products internationally. We've been able to export these products to about 40 countries and counting. And as of last year, we recently also got like an award from the French government to come establish the European business in France, using France as our in way into the EU market. So that's basically what we've been up to. Hi, Esusa, can you hear me? Hi, Esusa, can you hear me? It's like I lost you. Hello?
Hello, can you hear me? So
Yes,
sorry.
I can.
So sorry, I had a bit of a power outage, but I've sorted it. So sorry. Sorry.
That's fine. No worries.
Okay, so I'm when the thing cut off, you were talking about um empowering women. That's why I stopped.
Okay. Yeah. So I said we've been able to empower these women and over 10,000 women. And also, products created by these women are exported to over 40 countries globally. And we're also looking at expanding that number with the rich, that rich.
Okay. Thank you very much, Cynthia. You're doing a lot. First question I would ask, next question I would ask is, what made you go into why textiles? What's the why textiles? Why not something else? Why textiles? What's your interest in textiles, and why did you go into this line of business?
So I served in Ogun State, so which is like the southwest, yeah, the western part of Nigeria. So I served in one of the western states, Ogun State, and that's where I first of all like fell in love with the fabric and the textile. I met women who still created the designs using the old patterns and old methods to create these textiles. Then after that, I had moved to Lagos, gotten a job with Access Bank. Then I worked for like 2 years in the bank. Then I resigned to set up Adire Lounge fully. One of the reasons why we basically chose textiles instead of something else or instead of full blown, maybe like fashion brand, was
Yeah.
that there was no textile company as at then when we started, which created custom prints locally made. If you go to the open market, so let's say in Lagos, let's say in Lagos or in Abeokuta to get fabrics or textiles, what you would find easily find were the stiff fabrics, the fabric quality was not so good. So designers could not really use them. So we found a unique market, like a blue ocean strategy was that we could create this market using these beautiful fabrics and also at the same time trying to ensure that we created unique fabrics in different kinds of textiles. So we don't just make them on cotton, we also do them on chiffon, silk, jersey, denim, linen, on different kinds of textile fabrics. So that's what we were able to do, and which why we decided to do start working with textiles.
Okay. Oh, that's really interesting. That's really interesting. Adira is very pretty, and I actually never really knew that it's on Ogun State they do that. I don't think I've. I think it's the first time I'm learning that. I'm not really aware of that. Okay. So what has the journey been like for you? I mean, I would ask for two reasons. One, because I mean, everyone knows that. Well, let me not say everyone, but anyone who has tried to do any business in Nigeria knows that it's very challenging. So, what has it been like for you? What's the journey been like?
So it's two things, two words actually. So it's been stressful and it's also been very rewarding. Stressful in the sense that lack of access to funds and investors, and so which means that you're bootstrapping. Even trying to get a bank loan is almost as good as zero. So you tend to not get easy access to funds or finance to grow and scale your business. Then also there's also the access to market. So for us, we had to deliberately work on not just depending on the African market. So we tried very early on. One of our strategies was okay, which other people appreciated art, appreciated this kind of fabrics? What other markets could we go to who would really appreciate this textile designs and didn't have it readily available for them to just be able to go pick it up. So we knew early on that we needed to access international markets. So straight on, head on, we started working, which is why over time we have like a large number of countries we already export to. So we knew we needed to sell to those markets. Then rewarding in the sense that we've empowered so many women who have gone on to earn over 3 to 5x minimum wage. They've all started their own small businesses. We've also employed some of them, and most of them also, their kids have gone to school. So with that, I said that, okay, something we started as a tiny idea has grown and blossomed into what is now very big that has helped other people and also helped these women take care of their families and earn an income, and which they might not have been able to earn on a normal day. Or then also in the terms of our reach, in customers and how the business has grown, seeing that we are bootstrapped, we've never gotten external funding, that has also been very rewarding.
Wow. Wow, that's a lot. Too. That's a lot for someone who's not getting any funding to do a lot of that. That's a lot. That's a lot. Well done. Well done. Well
Thank you.
done. What you just said will make me jump in. First of all, one of the things I've noted down is how much of the business involves women, and I think that's very instructive to note. And because one of the things that we see, or that you know, it's largely known, is that for a lot of African countries, women are usually at a disadvantage. And there's that saying, I don't know if I picked up from a financial paper, I'm not sure, but I know that they always say things like, let women get employed, that it helps the society as well. When women are employed, it helps the society as well. So I think it's a very good thing. I think that's a very that's a useful skill. And I'm just going to throw in something, because there's something you said, that these women who do this designs are from a particular area in Ogun State. So I was going to ask, I'm going to just ask a question here. Um, do you guys, is what role does IP play in this business? And the reason I say this is because of what you said about the fabrics being gotten from a particular place, that's Ogun State, where it's done. So I just wanted to know, do you use IP in this business? How do you protect your designs? Also, because you mentioned you now export, so I'm thinking, if you export, how are you able to protect them, that someone is not ripping them off somewhere in another part of the world? Because these things happen quite a lot. I've come across um cases and stories like that, where people who are indigenous in a particular place are doing something, and someone comes in and takes their work and goes to try to reproduce it somewhere else and pass it off as their own, without any acknowledgement to the people who own those things and who have owned it as their own. So how do you protect that? That's the next question.
Yeah, so for IP, I think for fashion is a bit very tricky because most times the designs are, I don't, the word is like, so the designs have been gotten from generation to generation, generation to generation. So it's really, so you can't really say, oh, I came up with this design. It must have been found somewhere. You must have picked an element, especially for textile design. You must have picked an element from here, element from there to sort of not infuse to create yours. Because, for example, there's the downfall print, which we were the first brand to create. But now, if you look,
Yeah,
everybody has done it. So there was a time when we tried to patent that particular design, but everybody's like, it's the downfall, like downfall is downfall. So downfall is like the local transport bus in Lagos. So everybody's like, oh, it's the bus. Like, how do you want to patent it on textile? You have to now, because it's downfall, like anybody can use it. So it's not like a word you can go and patent. So it's a bit very tricky. So I really don't know. But the truth is, um for designs, especially for designs, textile design at right now, it's really, really sad because we even have people who take samples of this fabric, textiles, go to China, recreate them in other kind of textiles, in colors, this kind of fabric, but the same design, and ship them back to Nigeria and start selling the open market. And people are buying it. So the designer who created it at first has no recourse to that particular fabric, makes no money from it. People go import cheaper options, create cheaper options, and bring them back into the market, flood the market with those ones. And people are making a killing, but there's nothing really that the designer can do. So I think you, as the expert, should be able to say, okay, so what kind of IP, what kind of patent, what kind of trademark is possible, especially in fashion and
that's
textile industry.
I think that it would have it I mean, I think that there's a place for it to have been patented or designed. I don't agree with the person who says that, with the thought that, oh, it's a downfall, but I don't agree with that. I do think that there would have been a place for patent or designs at the patent or designs registry. But then again, whether they would have accepted that as a patent or a design is another thing. But maybe it would have been worth trying a shot at with them, because I believe that that's your own creative design. And at that time, if it were you were the first person to put it out, and there was no other thing looking like that, I'm sure you'd have been able to patent it. But what you've just said is it's a big truth. It's a huge challenge, and it's not just only for Adire. You've come across situations and scenarios like that, where indigenous people in other parts of the world have had their designs maybe taken by even big fashion houses, and they have to say, "Oh no, this is this and that." I think one of the major things is and that's one of the reasons why we have this series, is to, when we do them, we take feedback. And when you find yourselves in meetings, you try to put it out there that this is what needs to be done to protect the Nigerian creative, because the Nigerian creative has to be protected to generate income. One of the driving reasons for IP in anywhere in the world, intellectual property, is innovation. And if I bring an innovative product and you can't get anything back from that, you're discouraged. And that's a disadvantage as well, because innovation should always, there's some form of remuneration that should come to you as a designer. And another thing that I just thought about, I mean, and I don't know how much of that, whether that's even been done. I do know that there's been a push in Nigeria recently for geographical indications, and that's things that are made in a particular geographical location, that to say that those things fall under geographical indications, so as a way to encourage the people where those things come from as their own, to encourage them to continue to produce those things and to find a form of renovation, in remuneration. I know there's been a working document with that, and but I don't know. I know that, and I know there are people coming together to put hands together to make it a law, but it is not yet a law as at today. But I would personally think that something like a direct could fall under that, or it could fall under protection of um cultural or traditional knowledge, because it's traditional knowledge that those women use over time
Yeah.
to produce. I would think that it will fall under that, so as to prevent foreigners or foreign people from being able to exploit that. But like I said, that much will not know, but we do hope. And like you said, is I mean, it's conversations like this. Like you said something here that I mean, I never thought about, and we can go back on that. So when we find ourselves in meetings like this, we make conversations about this to say, this is what can be done. But I would always say that don't let anybody tell you, oh no, you cannot register this. You take it there and you see. It's anything's possible. You take it there to the design registry and see. I know that one of the reasons for them to do that is if it has never been there before, if there's nothing that resembles that. And at that time, there was nothing with that damp. I remember that damp food design very well. So if it was your first, I mean, your first innovative, I do believe that you would have gotten some form of protection for it, so that other people know that you are the originator and all of that. So that's something. Well, which is also very good to also have an IP lawyer on your team, yes, because
Yeah.
that's what we do try to advise about. All right. So you've talked about export, you've talked about partnering a lot with overseas and all of that. So I'll ask you what your marketing strategy has been in sourcing for this, because um I know that it's not very easy. Again, as a Nigerian, trying to export your whatever you sell and all of that, it's not easy. It's not. Again, we do have certain challenges here. So if you're not a very big company, and for someone who's just starting up, and at that time, how was it? How are you able to market your products and export out there? What did you use? Did you use an e-commerce site? I mean, was there a middleman? How did you do that? I would be interested in learning that.
So our strategies was three-pronged approach. So one was we used a lot of social media. We just started like our Instagram page. So we started posting like a lot and took beautiful clear pictures of our fabric. Then I also use the marketplaces, so international marketplaces. So there's like Etsy, Africa, and some other marketplaces. We're able to upload our products there to get customers. At first, it wasn't a lot, so it came in like trickles, but at least it was something. Then it grew from there when people began to know our brand. So or they will also check you out. So which digital footprint is very important. So, which is the social media and other places where, so if I see your product or I see your website, I really don't know you, but if I check around and see, okay, oh, you have good following, or there's someone who has, you post a review on your page and someone has said, oh, I've used their product. So with that, people get to know and find out that, oh, okay, I'm not a test run. I'm not going to be their first customer. Then the third one we did was also direct mail. We knew that right on. We wanted to speak with fashion brands and designers to create custom prints for them. So what we did was we started emailing them directly, had meetings with them, created samples. They loved it, and that was the ways we used to get these customers.
Wow. Wow, that's really great. So I will be moving towards talking about sustainability, because when you say you use agricultural waste, I'm wondering how does that one work? Okay, but you're the expert, so I will let you tell us how you incorporate sustainability. But the first thing I would say is before actually I would ask you what why sustainability? Why sustainability? Why?
Like we all know, textile and fashion industry is one of the biggest polluters of the environment. The industry alone contributes about 39% of the greenhouse gas emissions. So it became wise and it became necessary for us to find a sustainable path to create these textiles and fashion products. So, and why did we decide on agricultural waste? The agricultural waste we use is banana, and over 140 million tons of banana waste are created globally. And this means two things. These banana waste are left to create waste in the soil. Most of them are non-biodegradable at first. So it's not like it's going to turn into manure or something that the farmers can reuse. And this also ensures that the farmers who cultivate this fruit or plant itself, they deal with post-harvest losses. That means half of that waste, they can't sell them, is gone. They've lost an income. So we're also able to know that, okay, so if we can turn this way, so there are a lot of textile or fashion brands who use plastic waste, who use other kind of waste, but we just figured that if we could use bananas and this agricultural waste and turn them into sustainable textile products, we'll be solving two things at the same time. One is creating sustainable textile products in the sense that at the end of the day, these textile or fashion brands who buy these textile products are able to create sustainable products which are also biodegradable. Second is that the farmers who have lost an income, who are dealing with post-harvest losses, when we buy this waste from them, they're able to earn an extra income from their waste. So they're not just, it's not just looking like, oh, I start harvesting my bananas, what's wasted was is gone. So from that waste itself, they're able to make an extra income, which also helps them, keeps them motivated. Just almost the same thing we do with the women artisans we work with. So it's also the same model with the farmers. So with that, we're able to say, okay, now is the right time to incorporate this model into the textiles that we produce.
Wow. Wow. So how do you use the banana peel? Because I'm just thinking of banana peel. How's banana peel? Fashion, banana peel. How does it what's the relationship?
So yeah, so
Oh,
we use
you're
fuse.
trying to your business, so because, you know how you're on.
I didn't get that. What did you say?
Don't tell us the trade secret of your business, so
No, yeah. So it's just basically what we do is we turn the pews and the stems into textile products. So they go through a process really. So it's not just they go through a process, process them, now turn them into fibers and yarn, which now turns into the full textile before it gets to the artisans who now design them to sell. So that's just basically the
wow.
process.
Wow. So how have these products, when you compare the quality of these products from sustainable means, how do you compare when you compare them to other fabrics? How do they? Is there like a difference? Can anybody tell that, oh, this one is banana peel? I mean, is the quality the same? The same?
Yeah, it's the same. It's even way better. You can't tell the difference. So right now we've been able to make cotton. We've also been able to make a bit of polyester, and we've also been able to make linen from it. And you can't tell the difference till someone tells you, "Oh, this was made from agricultural waste." And secondly, the fabrics are biodegradable. So let's say you purchase a fabric for one of our brands, or you
Mm,
purchase a clothing from one of our brands, you can also send it back to them or send it back to us. We would be able to turn that fabric into something else. So they are biodegradable also, which makes it better and safer for the environment that we live in.
wow, that's really interesting. Okay, so this new process that you have brought, what role does IP play in it?
So now we're patent pending. So we're still working on it. Yeah.
Wonderful.
But
That's congratulations. That's good. That's very good. So that at
yeah,
least yeah, that's good. I was going to say if you are not patented, that you should run quickly and
yeah,
patent it. So,
yeah.
that's good. That's good. You're patenting. Okay, so has sourcing for your materials, these banana peels, has it been quite difficult, or is it easy for you to access and all of that?
Yeah, so it's easy to access. Right now, we work with farmers in Nigeria. Then in Europe, we also work with farmers in Guadeloupe. So it's like the French Caribbean
Mm,
islands. So we
okay.
work with farmers there. So get sourcing the banana waste has been very good. So work with like farmer unions in those countries. And yeah, it's been very good. We still have the network of women artisans we work with. So sourcing and market has no challenge at all right now.
Okay, okay. So since you've been doing business in Nigeria, what are the challenges, major challenges that you would say that you're facing? And I mean, I know most times we'll say we're just talking, we don't know who can be listening to us and hear, and we'll go to government and say, you know what, why don't we try it this way and all of that. So what would you say are the things that you think that the government can do to help entrepreneurs from your end? You know, you've had an experience in this, and also one word for upcoming entrepreneurs, either in the fashion space or in any space at all, that they want to start something up, whether they want to be involved in fashion or something else, and they want to do any other kind of business. What's your take for them? What would you advise them to do doing business? What's the one word you would tell them as advice to them doing business in Nigeria? Let's start with that first. Yeah.
Okay. So for entrepreneurs who want to set up their business or who are already running a business, it's not easy. But like I always say, consistency is very important. And if I look at when I started and where I am today, I never saw it coming. So it was just that I wake up every morning and just show up. Wake up every day and just show up. You never can tell. You don't know one opportunity. I've had customers who say, "Oh, we've known you since. We're just watching." But if you had stopped at a point, be like, oh, they're no longer there, okay, we'll find somebody else. But I feel like consistency, being very consistent, and also being very open and hopeful to opportunities. You never can tell. It might just be looking around the corner. And also having like um, peers who are also entrepreneurs, friends who are also entrepreneurs. So when the days are really down, you have someone who's telling you, don't worry, it's going to work out, something is going to come. And because they are also in the process themselves, they're also entrepreneurs. So they sort of understand where you're coming from and they're able to say, oh, no, don't worry. This is how it is. It will get better. Or you can try this, you can try that, you can try this. And I think for me, having entrepreneur friends was really very, very helpful in my journey. Because I came from a an employed background. I worked in a bank.
Yeah.
My friends who were in the bank did not. They even when I was going to resign, everybody thought I was crazy, and yeah, so everybody thought I was crazy. So it felt wrong. Like, how you leaving a banking job to go and start selling Adire? If that was how it was said, then Adire.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
don't worry, just know what I'm doing. And if it doesn't work out, like, I can still go and get a job. That was what
Yeah.
I told myself there. But this is how many years in now, not gotten a job, still in it. So find entrepreneur friends, be very consistent, and you never can tell something would really, really happen.
Okay, so for those of us who are listening, who are entrepreneurs, who would be entrepreneurs, Cynthia says to enter into the business, enter into the market. Don't let them thoughts of other people say, deter you, and to keep hoping, and find a community. I think that's the most important thing. When you have a community of people who are experiencing the same thing, it's very encouraging, very, very encouraging, and it helps you to, understand that you're not just the only person, and it's going to get better, and it will always get better as it has gotten better for Cynthia. I mean, it's not a small thing to be on Nasdaq. You can explain that. You can just tell us how did that feel, and I mean, how did
Like
you feel?
it was I actually cried that day. Like I can't lie. I can remember like I was like, oh, be professional. And I'm like, oh no, you don't understand. And for me, it just testified that like you can really do big things can come out from small places. I think that's the word. Because
Yeah,
this was me, I was just feeling like this small girl from Edo State, this tiny girl from Benin. And I've never been to New York, but my face was there. So it was really, really encouraging. And it just made me know that just be consistent. Just be very
yeah.
consistent.
I think
Yeah.
that's what I'm thinking. Be consistent and don't give up when it feels like it's not working out. Don't give up. If you believe that that's the journey, stay on the journey and don't give up. Be very hopeful. It's the little things, and that's that. So I'll go to yes, advice for the government. Or what do you think the government can do? No, no, say really advice. What do you think the government can do to help entrepreneurs? What do you think they can do? In what areas do you think they can help entrepreneurs and people coming into businesses to encourage them? Because again, from what you just said, from everything you said, I can see a chain of a chain reaction, so to speak. So you are the person, you're the producer, you're producing. You have people you have also helped with skills. Women who are you've also helped. Those women too who are also helping their own families as well. So there's a circle around which says that you are not only just creating job opportunities, you're also helping people create revenue, and that's also stimulating the economy. So how do you think the government can come in to help to empower entrepreneurs like yourself and others in other areas?
So I feel like it's two things. One is access to finance and funding. I feel like I know that for industries, especially legacy industries like the one I'm in, which is like fashion, manufacturing, those kind of industries, if the government gives access to funding, access to finance, it would really, really help boost the economy. So aside boosting the business itself, it's also going to boost the economy because you more employment, job creation would be over the roof. You would be able to employ more people, and this also ensures that, oh, there's great power supply, which will also boost that manufacturing and production. The secondly is access to market. So there's no point producing all these things and you don't have those access to market. You cannot sell,
Very
you
true.
cannot export a full container of textiles, or you cannot export a full container of whatever products you're making outside the shores, not just even the US, UK, or Canada, or Europe. Let's even talk about West Africa. There are other African countries who do not have access to most of our products. They want them. Aside that, we also have Nigerians who live there who would also want access to Nigerian made products. But because it's a bit tedious, because there's a lot of bureaucracy, there's also a lot of there's no enough funding to be able to even think beyond your present environment or whatever you're doing presently. So you really don't even think, you don't see far, you don't think of the future, you don't there's no really plan. But you're just thinking, oh, immediately, okay, how many sales can I make from Lagos? How many sales can I make from Port Harcourt? How many sales can I make from Abuja? But the truth is, there's a whole world out there for people who want your products that do not even know you exist. But if we have government policies, government access to market, government enabling financing, funding, government enabling this market access for entrepreneurs, it will make it really, really way easier for these companies and these industries to really grow and thrive.
Very true. Very true. Enabling environment,
Yeah.
enabling our environment, funding, and enabling laws as well. Enabling laws as well, because the laws also help these businesses. And also, I would also add I also add on my end, strengthening IP laws, strengthening IP intellectual property laws will help, because when people know that, I mean, if I rip off someone's work, someone's creative work, someone's design, and the person goes to court to sue me and sues me for 20 million or 30 million, and the court gives the person 30 million, no other person is going to rip off another person's work. That's the truth, because they'll be thinking, I don't have 30 million to pay. I will not steal their design. I'd rather go and meet them to say, please, can you collaborate with me or give me license or something to let me use it and pay off, than for me to go and be paying 20 million all over. Where will I see 20 million for? So I think that's also something that would, would also help. Would also help as well.
Yeah.
So, um, okay. So, one of the questions I also would ask is, what do you think about fast fashion? Because there's so much talk about fast fashion. People are this one company is done so in 5 days, in 5 seconds. I know you mentioned earlier about how much fast fashion contributes. So what's your take for this in this time, fast fashion, as it relates to at least Nigeria? How do you think companies can really begin to help? Fashion companies can really begin to help with climate change and reducing that waste, because the amount that you mentioned is a lot. 37% is a lot. How do you think they can join hands together to do this in the fashion sector, to ensure that in fashion industries ensure that we use less waste? Or what do you think? What's your how
Uh,
the suggestion?
yeah. So for Nigeria, fast fashion is, I don't think it is as
Okay.
high as in other developed countries, because first place we do a lot of made to order. So let's say for Ashrabi, it's just that now for every wedding you need to make one that you don't have to wear again. But
Yes.
the made to order system or model that that industry uses is another great one for the fashion industry, in the sense that I only buy what I want and what I use per time. Then we also do a lot of secondhand fashion. So we have
Yes.
like a whole lot of secondhand fashion industry. Also, bear in mind that a lot of people have this idea that most of the secondhand fashion clothing comes in from developed countries and they are come to dumped at sites in Africa, which
Very
is
true.
true. But also, we are able to purchase those fabrics or purchase those clothing, and this helps in reducing and reuse. So one of the main things is that you reuse and reduce your fashion or the products that you have. This also helps curb fast fashion. So let's say
Very
I bought a dress from Zara or another brand and I've used it for a while. If there's a platform, I can sell that dress to somebody else instead of
true.
me
Yeah.
trading it away, which goes on to fill the landfill because of course, Zara will not have used the biodegradable fabric, so all you to do is you just go fill the landfills or fill one sea somewhere, which is also harmful to fish and also the planet. But if you're able to resell it, if you're able to reuse that fabric, or if you're able to reuse the clothing and sell it to somebody else, and with that, you've been able to curb fast fashion. So reusing and also reducing what we buy and what we wear would help curb fast fashion.
Very true. Reducing and where we help fast fashion. I think that's also very true. I think that's also very true. Rather than just buying and buying and buying and mass producing. That's also very true. Okay, so would ask another. I'll ask you just another very not too serious question. Um, so my question is just, what's your take on sustainability in Nigeria? Because recently there's been a lot of focus on sustainable practices, and companies are thinking, oh, how they can go green. I know the last administration signed Paris Agreement, so Nigeria is a member of that, and they have committed to so many ways in which we're planning to government plans to reduce waste and all of that, and to reduce harmful practices of that generally is being done, to in order to curb climate change effects and all of that. What's your take on what's your take on it in Nigeria, number one? And how do you think the government should address this? Do you think they should go in? Because most times when what I've noticed, with governments and sometimes in Nigeria, and is that when we want to, introduce something, we rather than go to make to like explain to people why we need to do this and walk through that, we might just come and we just put a law and say, okay, all of you do this to reduce, without actually having to have an explanation or a conversation. So what strategy would you think, if you were to advise the government in sustainability, especially, I would say you should focus on fashion, but you don't have to focus on fashion. You can say sustainability generally. How would you advise the government to go about this? First and foremost, I would bear in mind what you said about how you work with farmers and using banana peel. So I would say, what strategy do you think would you say the government should go through in trying to, first of all, educate people why we need to do sustainable, um, whatever it is that we're doing, why sustainable for our practices need to come in, and how would you advise us? What's your suggestions to the government or private companies generally, again, or not just government, to private companies? Let's say there's a company watching you now, an entrepreneur watching you, and they're thinking, oh, I like this idea or what she said, but we want to begin to do this, but we don't know how. So how would you say that, you advise them to begin to incorporate it as well? Yeah.
So first things first is that for Nigeria, Africa, I think we're so used to waste. So you can be
Yeah.
walking, you can be walking on the street and you have something in your hands. You can just throw it or fling it out of your car, your vehicle, or something. So let's even talk about plastic waste. We can throw plastic out of. There's no proper way to reduce and reuse plastic. So even with debt, even I know there's some companies who go about picking like maybe plastic bottles from households, but it's just very few. And these are like private companies who are doing this. So there's really no government policy or a standardized way to reuse or reduce plastic waste. Then plastic waste is the main one. Then we now talk about okay, other kind of waste. So we're talking about maybe greenhouse gas emissions. Most places we have like factories which emit a lot of gas in areas where people live in, which is also very dangerous to those people,
Very true.
dangerous for community. We do not have places where okay, this place is just for production and this
Very
place
true.
is for habitation, and you say okay, people live here, so you can't come and just have a factory here. it does not happen. So you tend to see people live where they're not meant to live. They're inhaling things they're not meant to inhale. So that's for even air pollution. Then before we now talk about textile or fashion waste. So we have fashion designers or tailors everywhere who cut
Yeah,
fabric, sew fabrics, and they dispose them just on the ground or on the floor.
yeah.
Pick them
That's
up.
very,
When they pick them up, people just take those fabrics and throw them away, or someone else picks it up, and it just goes from there to there. And that waste is going on to fill a landfill, create more waste, create more things, and more harm to the environment. So, like you said, if you're going to come up with a law, in the first things first is how do you even change the mind of the people? How do you ensure that these people know that creating this waste is not just harmful to the environment, it's also harmful to them as a human
yeah,
being?
yeah,
So, plastic waste, do you have? So, if I move from, let's say, from Ajara to VGC Gate, are
yeah,
there are there like bins? Are there like trash bins where if what's in my hand I don't want to throw, I don't have to take it home. If my house is in Ikeja, how am I going to hold that plastic bottle or the PET can from a drink? How am I going to hold it from a jar to Ikeja? But are there like bins from like 1 or 10 meters away from you where you can dispose them? And they are also aligned that, oh, you can put organic waste here, you can put plastic waste here, or you can put paper waste here, which can be biodegradable, which are biodegradable and can be recycled into something else, which at the end of the day, more income, more industries, more manufacturing, like I said. But we don't have anything like that. And the textile, the tailors, let's say, for example, they will create that waste or create that dye waste. They would throw them into the landfill, throw them into the river, in the water, or what something, or into the gutter, because there's no law, there's nothing in place saying this
yeah,
thing is harmful to you. So I'm not even talking about, okay, so for a learned person, you will not be driving and just want to throw things, but there are people who still do it and they're learning. So I'm even talking about people who live day to day on the street, or your normal day to day woman,
yeah,
man, who
yeah,
has really no idea. Is there proper sensitization? There is none like that. So that tailor comes and throws it away. She doesn't know where it ends up. That's not her business. Her own is that she has debt and she has kept the debt aside that needs to be disposed of. So she really don't care where it ends up. That's not her business. All she knows that she needs to dispose of her debt. Then, if I'm holding a pet can or a pet bottle, I need to dispose it. I really don't care what happens at the end of the day. If you've not put something in place for me to throw it away, so what do you want me to do? I can't hold it to Ikeja. I can't hold it to the mainland, or I can't hold it to CMS. I need to throw it away somewhere. And the
yeah.
next available place is on the floor. So I just bring it and that is it. So I feel like proper sensitization and also plans in place, because there's also one thing putting plans in place or saying, "Oh, we're doing this." If I don't know that it exists, there's no way I'll be able to use it too. So I think those are like the steps to keep in place.
Thank you very much, Cynthia. It's been fun talking to you. It doesn't feel like I'm having an interview series. Just been fun having a conversation with you. I've learned a lot. I've learned a whole lot about sustainability and what more we can do. I've not even ever even considered some of the things you mentioned, but they are noteworthy. If you're watching us, we've been speaking to this IP Business Capital, and we've been speaking to Cynthia on a series on sustainability, renewable energy, and all of that. Cynthia has a fashion, she's in the fashion industry, and she's the founder of Adire Lounge. She's been talking to us for over 30 minutes now on Adire Lounge, textile, and the Adire and banana waste, and how she uses that to make fabrics. And it's been very interesting learning from her and um, being on this platform as well. So I just want to thank you, Cynthia, for coming on. About
Um,
round now, I don't see any more questions. So if I just we don't have so much questions, but if you have any question for Cynthia, you can reach out to us on our LinkedIn page, and we'll forward them to Cynthia as well. Thank you so very much for coming. But please, before you go, one word for, one word for our listeners, one word for our listeners. I've taken plenty. I've taken keep going at it in business and have a community, and for sustainability, for to focus more on educating people and informing them. Yes, so I've taken those three. But one last word from you.
One last word for entrepreneurs or people listening is take that opportunity. You never can tell really. Like any opportunity, just take it. Most times I say you're qualified or not, you don't know if you're qualified, you don't know what they are looking for. So just take the opportunity. You never know what's on really on the other side.
Sorry, I think my internet shifted a bit. Yeah, I'm listening to you.
Yeah, also I said just take the opportunity. You never really know what's on the other side when you take the opportunity. So any opportunity that comes, especially as an entrepreneur, just take it and run with it.
All right. Thank you so much. I've had fun chatting with you. And for those of us that have been watching and following us, you can go over to YouTube and you can rewatch it, you can replay it, and you can reach Cynthia. She's at Adire Lounge on Instagram. I think her Instagram handle is Cinim. She's also Cynthia at Twitter. So if you have any questions for her as maybe an entrepreneur, you want to do business with her, you also want to contact her because maybe you want to ask questions about something, please reach out to her on all of these platforms. She's on Instagram, see her name and her handle and all of that, and you can have a conversation with her. If you also need to speak to us at IP Business Capital, we're also at IP Business Capital at LinkedIn. So you can just reach us, send us a message, we'll hear you, and we'll get to meet with you. This is finally come to the end of our chat series. This is not the end. We would have subsequent ones with different entrepreneurs. And you can go to our YouTube page and you watch and see that we've not only spoken to people in the fashion, spoken to people randomly in different diverse industries in Nigeria, from recycling to fashion, because all of these areas are very, very important. And we know that entrepreneurs have a huge role to play in our economy, stimulating our economy and creating jobs. And if you have been listening to Cynthia, you heard how much she's worked with a lot of women. And if you follow the chain and listen to the video, you understand why it's important and why we had to have this series, because they are important players in this industry. Very, very important players. They're employers of labor for number one. And they also are people who also generate income, not just for themselves, but also for other people. So that also makes them very, very important and vital to our economy. Thank you once again, Cynthia. And we've come to an
Thank you.
end.
No
Thank
worries.
you for
Yeah,
chatting with you. Thank you so much for your time. Do have a
problem.
very lovely day. Bye
You too.
bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye bye.